Hi, I'm Jay Shaffer, and you may know me as the guy that makes the Jaybilizer 3000 camera stabilizer. Okay, and in today's video, we basically want to show you how to set up and balance your Jaybilizer 3000 camera stabilizer. Okay, I've got the Jaybilizer 3000 here rigged with a Canon HV30 camera, and the only accessory that I actually have on this is a lens hood. So I'm going to show you first of all is that we'll go ahead and take this off of here, and we've got a quick release mount from the Manfrotto camera mount here. Let's see, and what we're going to do is that we can use our 1/4-20 screw here to mount up to the camera, and it does have a camcorder pin to keep the camera straight on the plate here. And then the very first thing that we're going to do is do our forward to backwards balance. Okay, so what we can do is we slide the sliding plate onto the Jaybilizer 3000, and we can move this back and forth. And what we're looking for is to get it where that it stays perfectly level front to back by adjusting it back and forth here. And this is a very fine adjustment. As with all the adjustments on this, we're talking a matter of grams and millimeters here. So we'll just go ahead and we'll see that starts to go tail heavy, and that starts to go nose heavy. So it's a very precise adjustment, and we just kind of get it as close as we can there, and we let it suspend from the gimbal here, and then we'll go ahead and we'll tighten down the screw that holds the camera plate on there. And so now we have a nice forward to backwards balance. Okay, and you can just hold it there, and you could also use a spirit level, and so you can see that that is still slightly just tail heavy. So I'm going to go ahead and slide that forward just a millimeter or so, and now we've got a good level balance on that. Okay, now important things to consider is that you want to have the camera in the exact configuration that you're going to shoot with. You want to make sure you have your battery in, you want to make sure that you have your tape in, and you want to make sure that you have your LCD monitor flipped out in the position so that you can get a proper left to right balance. Okay, on the left to right balance, when you receive your Jaybilizer, you will receive it with this pin separated so that it can ship easier. Okay, so what this pin has is that you can put washers on here, and it has a 1/4-20 screw there that you can put that on. So generally with like an HV30 or a lightweight camcorder like say S100 or something like that, is that you can start out with basically 2 washers. So you want to start out with just any value of washers, and then you can move that left or right to balance the camera. And so what we'll do is that we'll hold the camera up here, and we'll look at our left to right balance, and we can see that it's slightly leaning to the right. So we'll pull that out so that it levels up. And then when it's leveled up, take our needle nose pliers and we'll turn this screw on the gimbal handle to tighten that up so that it comes up within this bore and holds this pin tight. Okay, so now we have a forward to backwards balance, and we also have a left to right balance here. Okay, and you want to look at that very carefully and make sure that it's exact, because you don't want to have a horizon line that's going like that. Okay, and the next thing that we worry about is the counterbalance. Is what we want to have is a situation where that the center of balance here is exactly centered on where our gimbal mount is. So we have a center of rotation and center of gravity at the same spot. So you want to balance with counterweights on this end to balance out the camera exactly on that end. So in the case of the HV30, it ends up just being 5 washers. Okay, and these are the fender washers that are included with it. And what we want to have is an ideal situation. You'll notice that there's a slot within the gimbal mount here, and you can take that slot and place it to the side, 90 degrees to the side, and now when you release this camera from 90 degrees, it should take about half second to a second to come down and right itself. Okay, any faster than that, it's bottom heavy, and any slower than that, it's top heavy. And if it's bottom heavy, you can get this pendulum effect when you're trying to shoot or when you're walking. It will actually act as a pendulum down there. And if it's too light on the top, it does this kind of start and stop kind of yaw motion. So you want to get this thing perfectly balanced. Okay, so that's the HV30. Okay, we had several emails asking us, will it blend with a Canon XL1? Okay, let me show you here. We tried to mount a Canon XL1 on here, and an XL1, as you can see, is a considerably heavier camera than the HV30. Okay, so what we were looking for first of all was our front to back balance, and you can see that I've got the plate slid almost all the way to the back, and I had to take out the camcorder locator pin to counterbalance the glass on the Canon. All right, and then I went and I added about 60 washers to the bottom as to counterweight this, and the end result is that this camera is too heavy for the Jaybilizer 3000. We'll just have to wait for the Jaybilizer 5000 model, I think. Okay, the next camera we're going to try is the Sony EX1, and we'll see if that camera is too heavy for the Jaybilizer 3000. Okay, and this is the Sony EX1 mounted on a Jaybilizer 3000. Okay, and you'll see that we've got about 50 to 60 fender washers down here to act as counterweights, and that the camera is quite a ways back on the camera plate here. And if we try to suspend this, you see that the camera wants to tip over, and the camera is basically just too heavy for a Jaybilizer 3000. The EX1 is rated about 5.5 pounds, 6 pounds with the battery and the card in it. And then if you add another 5 or 6 pounds for the Jaybilizer, that would mean that you're trying to support 12 pounds with your wrist here, and that's just a little bit too heavy to get any kind of steady shot. The last camera we're going to look at is the exact opposite of a Sony EX1, and this is a Samsung HZ10w, which is a little point-and-shoot camcorder that also shoots ABC HD video. Okay, and this camera is quite light. It's only about 1/2 pound or so. And so even with taking all the counterweights off the bottom of the Jaybilizer, is that it was still a little bit too bottom heavy and caused that pendulum effect. So what I did is I added some weights to the little tail hole here on the top of the Jaybilizer, and then moved the camera plate forward so that I have the forward to back balance, and I move the rod inward and tighten that up so that I have left to right balance. And then as far as counterbalance goes, now that it's almost heavy enough on the top that it will be stable. Okay, this is a little bit still bottom heavy, so you kind of have to use a two-handed technique to get smooth shots, but it's a nice little rig, and it will work with the Jaybilizer 3000. Okay, next we're going to show you some shooting techniques with the Jaybilizer 3000.